welcome back. This is a series of educational videos on which we explore alternative agricultural enterprises, and we're located here at the Ohio State University South Centers in Piketon, Ohio. Co-host Brad Bergefurd, co-host Dwayne Rigsby, Jerry Driggs, myself, Patrick Dengel, and a variety of others are going to be looking at, on a continuous basis, how we can assist in exploring new and better techniques in growing products and services. Brad Bergefurd is the horticulturalist and extension educator here in Ohio State University South Centers, along with Scioto County, with Southern Ohio. And Brad, it's always a pleasure to co-host with you.
Yes, same here, Patrick.
And I know that you've had a lot of experience in helping individual farmers, commercial enterprises. You've had a lot of experience in working with people in general on how to utilize one of the best resources we have, and that's land.
Yes, and agriculture. That is one of our goals, is to explore alternative ag enterprise center that we can help our farmers make higher value income returns per acre of ground, especially here in the small farms we have in Southern Ohio.
Well, you know, this is rather interesting. This is sort of a timely topic, and that is on growing strawberries. I've had the opportunity of working with many associates here at the university, as well as ag farmers, and the strawberry seasons are coming up. And I found out that you can grow strawberries in 2 different seasons. And today you're going to be willing to share one of the best ways using plasticulture.
Yes, correct. It was a new technique we started looking at here at the South Centers about 12 years ago. It's called plasticulture strawberry production, and what it does is gives us a season extension technique that we can harvest strawberries for a longer period of time, as well as receive more income off that strawberry crop for a longer period of time. As we all know, everybody likes to eat strawberries, so the longer that we can produce them, the more of the market that is available out there for us farmers to capture and be able to generate incomes for our small family farms off of those markets.
Well, I've got a confession to make, and that is I'm a city person, and I have lived in this city all of my life. And I have a plot of land in the backyard, 5 by 24, let's say. And what I wanted to do is grow strawberries. But I'll be quite frank with you, I know nothing about farming. I'm one of those individuals that looks out my kitchen window and sees the whites of my neighbor's eyes. And when it comes to growing strawberries, it amazes me the things that you do at Ohio State University South Centers in their research programs. So keep that in mind when you're talking about growing strawberries in a plasticulture. That you are really talking to a novice. I don't even know how you get those little seeds off of the strawberry and plant them.
Well, that's your first problem, Patrick. We don't use seeds to produce the strawberry crop. We go to the field or the garden with plants. And that's probably the first thing we need to do, is to line up that available supply of those good, high-quality strawberry plants in order to even think about planting this plasticulture strawberry, or any type of strawberry technique for that matter. We have to line up a good supply of plants.
So where would I get these plants?
The plants can be readily available from most of our local suppliers, garden centers. A lot of the fertilizer companies in the area that deal with garden plants can get you strawberry plants. But for the plasticulture strawberry, that's a little bit different, because we're actually planting that strawberry crop on Labor Day. Where traditionally we plant our strawberry crops this time of the year, April, May, which is fine, but if we want to produce a crop that we can extend the season, whether it's in the garden or in the field, then we would have to line up our plants that would be available in September for now.
Well,
and those come from specific plant nurseries. Most are located up in Canada.
In Canada?
Yes.
So I would have to contact a nursery up in Canada and have them shipped down? Is that how they are?
Yeah, that's how we do it. Since we developed this production technique in Ohio, we've actually formed a sort of a co-op effort. There's not a lot of farmers that are producing the plasticulture strawberry, but there's enough of them. There's about 30 throughout the state, and there's a co-op effort where these 30 farmers pool their plant order, so then they buy the plants by the semi-loads, and then place them all with these Canadian nurseries. About this time of the year, within the next couple months, you'd have to have your initial order in for the plants. And then right around the end of July, those plants would be available, harvested in Canada, and shipped here
Now,
to pickup locations in Ohio.
Is there a reason why we would have to go to Canada? Can't we get them more locally available?
Right now, the Canadians produce a majority of the strawberry nurseries basically for the United States. The Florida growers, the California growers, a lot of those are using Canadian nurseries just because of their cooler growing conditions, less incidence of disease. But that is changing. Another one of our projects we've done here at the South Centers is we received a grant to fund a project looking at growing our own strawberry nursery here right in Ohio. And we do have a couple growers that are on-farm cooperators that we're working with. And it looks like the future could be homegrown strawberry plants for this market that we have in Ohio, so we don't have to rely on the Canadian nurseries as much.
Oh, and I found it interesting that we would plant on Labor Day. Now, doesn't that go through our cold seasons? Doesn't that kill the plants?
That's one reason we started this research 12 years ago, was to see, can we produce these crops and keep them growing throughout the winter months, because we can get pretty cold, and therefore we have to look at different winter protection techniques to protect our crop through those cold months of January, February, and even here into early March. We have developed some techniques which we're going to be heading out to the field here this afternoon, and we'll be able to showcase some of the techniques that we've been using and have proven to be successful in overwintering those strawberry crops. One of them is floating row covers, which is like a freeze blanket that we would apply to the strawberry crop around any time between Halloween and Thanksgiving, depending on temperature conditions. Once we have 1 week of 50-degree average temperatures between the high and the low temperatures for one whole week, that is our trigger to go ahead and put the row covers or the freeze blankets on our strawberry crop. And then we would leave them on till, looking at the weather now, about the 1st of April, and that's about what it's looking like. When we have that 50-degree average temperature again, we remove the row covers. So we will be getting them taken off here over the next few days.
I would imagine that if you are allowing the plants to grow at Labor Day, that you do not have a lot of insect infestation or...
That's what we would hope, but here lately we've had some new insect pests that have come into our Ohio, southern Ohio growing areas especially, and they are late season pests. So just with that late planting date, we still are having to fight a lot of late season insect and disease pressures. In terms of insects, we have a new fruit fly that's come in. That is a late season fruit fly that is causing us some havoc. We have some late season aphid infestations. Last year with the drought and the dry weather, we had late season spider mite infestations. And a new disease, we've had a very, very bad outbreak of virus in our strawberry plants this past season. So we're always fighting and having to be aware of how to control a lot of these insect and disease pests.
So you're saying here at the Ohio State University South Centers in their research, you are looking at ways to optimize the growth. For instance, if I were to have a plot of 5 by 24, would I get a quart, or what would be my yield?
That's what our research has shown. If we do a good job of managing that crop, starting with the soil, where we get a soil test that gives us a reading of what the fertility levels are in our soil. A phrase I like to use is don't guess soil test.
Don't guess soil test.
Don't guess soil test. We get those soil test results, and then the grower or the gardener can make a good decision on what fertility program they need to follow for the strawberry crop. So that's the very beginning. Then we have to control weeds, we have to work our soil, we have to make beds, and all of this we have researched here at the OSU South Centers. But then we've also looked at different varieties, different planting dates.
Soil testing very expensive though?
No, it can be done at any extension office in any county in Ohio. In Portsmouth, we offer a soil testing service, and to do a soil test varies depending on what you want to test for, but we're looking at about $20.
$20.
So it's a very cheap investment when we could save that much in misapplications of fertilizer or poor plant growth that could result from a poor fertility
So do you come out and
No, but we do offer advice on the best way to take a soil test in your garden or in your field. We offer fact sheets on that. We have soil testing probes that we could actually loan out to get that soil test taken. And then the farmer or the gardener would bring those soil samples back to our office at Portsmouth, and then we'd send them off to the soil testing lab. And once the lab receives them, it's usually within 24 hours we could have those results. So it's it's a very quick turnaround time. Don't have to wait very long to get those results and make your applications.
So what happens if I have soil that is conducive to strawberries, but would the soil test tell me what nutrients to add?
Yes, for a specific crop, whether it's a vegetable crop or a lawn or a strawberry crop, it will come back with what is available in the soil and what we need to add. So just about any crop or garden crop, we do want to start with a soil test, and that's all part of optimizing our production. So our research has shown if we can do everything right, and Mother Nature treats us halfway decent with nice weather, no freezes, no real intense heat, we could get anywhere from a pint, which is 3/4 of a pound, to a quart, which is 1.5 pounds of strawberries per plant. Per plant. So in your 5x24 garden there at your house, Patrick, you'll roughly be looking at 50 plants. So you could be looking at anywhere from 25 to 50 quarts of strawberries if you put the right management into growing that strawberry crop.
Is it important that I have a lot of sunshine, or part of the garden would be underneath one of our larger trees?
We would like that garden to have at least morning sunshine.
Morning sunshine.
If the afternoon you get some shading, that's fine, because strawberries are actually a cool season crop, so the heat of the afternoons can impact their growth and production. So having that shading in the afternoon may not hurt you too bad, but we'd like to have that morning sunshine. So if you can't get that, I would suggest maybe we try to find another location for your garden.
I see. One other question before we go out into the field. Is there a taste difference between those that are grown in the early spring and those that are grown throughout the winter?
We haven't really seen that. That is some of the objectives of our research, is to see what the sugar levels are of the fruit, the size of the individual strawberries, and really we haven't seen too much until we get into that late fall winter production, which we have done here at the South Centers in greenhouse structures called high tunnels. Once we start lacking in sunshine, the sugar levels are lower in the fruit, so the fruit doesn't taste as good as it does in May, June, and July.
Huh, okay. Well, I tell you what, let's go out into the field, and you can sort of show that once I get the plants and once I get the right soil, how to tell my wife how to dig around and plant those, and what we have to do to.
And you won't eat any of those either, Patrick. If you allow her to plant them, you'll have to let her eat some of them.
Oh, I understand.
It's a beautiful day. Let's head to the field.
All right, good. So we're here at the field.
Yeah, these are our field research trials, Patrick. This is our strawberry research trial, and this is where we conduct the research and demonstrate this new plasticulture strawberry production technique that we talked about inside. These would be the plants that we would get from Canada that we would get as little baby runner plants in July, and then we take those runner plants to the greenhouse or to our mist system, which we set up outside, and we will grow those plants for about a month. And then that's when Labor Day comes and we're ready to plant this crop. So this particular strawberry crop was planted right around that first week of Labor Day. As you can see, we've got the raised beds formed because just like all of our fruit and vegetable crops, they like to have dry root systems. If they're laid in heavy soils, heavy wet soils, the natural soil-borne disease organisms like Phytophthora and Fusarium and Verticillium, which are all natural diseases that are in the soil, if our strawberry or any of our vegetable crops even would be laying in these heavy soils that are undrained, those disease organisms would elevate within the soils, attack the root zone, reduce our plant's growth, and could actually eventually kill our crop. So that's why we form a nice raised bed. We have a piece of equipment that ours goes on a tractor, but a lot of gardeners have rototillers that have hiller attachments. We would prepare our soil after we did the soil test, for we got down the right nutrients that our crop needs, put those nutrients in the soil, use that hiller attachment, whether it's on a tractor or whether it's on a rototiller, make our raised bed. Then we go and cover that raised bed with the sheet of black plastic mulch. And that's one thing we did not talk about inside, but that black plastic mulch has many benefits to our strawberry crop. The first benefit is weed control. We don't have to spray and use herbicides to control the weeds because the plastic does it for us. The sunlight does not penetrate that plastic, therefore the weeds underneath do not grow, and we've controlled weeds that way naturally without the use of any chemicals. The second thing it does, it helps conserve the moisture. So when it does start getting dry, like it did here last summer, this black plastic reduces the evapotranspiration rate of the soil, so we can actually hold some of that moisture in place. Underneath each of these beds is a drip irrigation line. The blue main line irrigation hose that's running in front of that is connected to an irrigation tube that runs under the bed. That's the black plastic tube we see right here, and therefore we drip irrigate. We use drip irrigation technology over overhead systems, one, to conserve the moisture, two, we're putting the moisture right at the base of the plant where it needs it the most, and three, it does not wet the leaf surface. When we keep the leaves of the plants dry, that reduces our disease in that plant, and we just don't have those issues to have to deal with. So drip irrigation is essential to this production technique.
Now, if I were in my small plot, would I need a drip irrigation?
Very, very popular in gardening right now. There's irrigation supplies just like this, but you can buy small amounts for your garden. And I'd say it's even more important for your garden, because if you have to purchase your water from the county or the city, that gets expensive to irrigate where you don't need to. We don't have to irrigate between where we're standing. We just irrigate right where the crop needs it the most. Plus, we're utilizing that water more efficiently. It's easier to water. You don't have to come out with a sprinkling can, Patrick. You can just turn on the valve, turn on your hydrant, and start irrigating. So we have the...
So I can get something like that at...
Most garden centers today are carrying them, yes. It's gaining in popularity, really gaining in popularity over the last 5 years. 5 years ago it would have been a little more difficult. But we have the drip irrigation tube under our plastic mulch, so that conserves the moisture, reduces our weed growth within the row, plus it warms the soil up. Have you ever put your hand on a dark colored car on a day like it's sunny today, how warm that car is?
Yes.
Same thing with this plastic, Patrick. Put your hand on that plastic and you could feel the heat.
Oh yeah.
The sun is absorbed by that black color of the black plastic. When that sun's energy is absorbed by the plastic, having that bed of that plastic real close to our bed, the heat then is translocated to the bed, down into the root zone. The root zone's warmed up just a few degrees, 4 to 6 degrees increase in temperature under there. When we warm up that root zone, the plants grow. Look how beautiful they are today. They are growing today with that heat that's being translocated through this black plastic down to the root zone of that strawberry crop.
Well, now we've had this morning, I think the temperature degrees were under 30. So the plants did not freeze.
No, as you can tell, they did not. We also are doing another thing, though, to protect our plants from those freezes. And this is what we talked about inside. These are the freeze blankets, or the floating row covers. Like I said, inside, once we get to that average week of 50 degrees between our high and low temperatures for 7 days in a row, that's our trigger as a strawberry grower to apply this row cover. These row covers are pretty common in this area. Those of you that have grown tobacco, this is what they covered tobacco beds with to grow tobacco plants. So it's not a new product, but we're using it in a new way. And by pulling this row cover over top of the strawberry plants when we get that temperature of 50 degrees, then that continues the growth of the plant way into the late fall, early winter months.
So you're saying that starting in November, starting when there's a frost, is when you want to start covering the plants.
Correct.
Until April 1st or things like that.
Yeah, and looking at the weather here next week, we're probably going to hit that magical 50-degree average for the week again. So that's when we remove the covers, but we don't take them out of the field or the garden. We leave them lay out here because, as you know, Patrick, once we start blooming here in a couple weeks, we get those frost, those freeze events that could really destroy our crop, destroy our blooms. So then we use the freeze blankets to protect those tender blooms from a frost or a freeze event like we can possibly get here in early April. Another benefit of using the plasticulture system is look at that plant. It's laying on top of that plastic mulch. No soil is splashing onto the leaves. Just imagine when we're harvesting this crop, Patrick, and the fruit is all going to be on top of the plastic. No having to eat strawberries that have been laying in mud or laying in soil. Very nice and clean. They pick up no soil-borne disease organisms that can cause fruit rots. So that's another benefit to the use of the plastic mulch or the plasticulture strawberry production system.
So you're saying that each one of these plants will yield anywhere from a pint to a quart of strawberries?
Correct. A pint to a quart of strawberries. And a pint is on the low end. That's one of the objectives of our research, is to continue to research the production techniques of plasticulture strawberry. For as a gardener or a farmer, we can almost tell you how you can guarantee a quart per plant. At a quart per plant, and we plant 15,000 of these plants to the acre.
15,000?
15,000 plants to the acre at a quart per plant. That's 15,000 quart times $3, $4, $5 a quart. That's an alternative crop or an alternative enterprise that our growers can make some money at on small farms.
Well, we probably, my wife and I probably won't go to that extent. And all she has to do is build up the mound.
Yes.
Get the seedlings. Put the plastic in there, and then keep it covered. Domesticated animals in our area, such as cats, stray cats, and dogs, and on occasion you see something that shouldn't be there. How do you protect that?
We do need to protect our crops because these strawberries, look how green they are.
Yes.
They've been growing nice and green all winter long.
Yes.
And for our wildlife, especially deer, the deer would love to come in and eat these strawberries. So we do need to be concerned that we do not allow deer could come into your 5x24 strawberry planting and eat them all, and you'd have no plants left. So we have to use the row covers, are one way we can keep the deer, the wildlife, a lot of the other stray animals out of our fields. But then if you look behind us, we have a big, tall fence all around our entire farm here, Patrick, and that is a 12-foot tall fence just to prevent the wildlife, especially deer, from getting into our vegetable and fruit fields. One, we don't want them to eat our crops. We want to have a good yield. Plus, from a food safety standpoint, it's good not to have that wildlife in our fruit and vegetable gardens and fields.
Well, how about dogs and cats and
same thing?
neighbors?
We try to keep the two-legged as well as the four-legged critters out of our gardens, because once these have 20 to 30 strawberries per plant, They are very welcoming to neighbors and intruders that would like to come in and help themselves. We do encourage pick your own, but only on pick your own farming operations, not in your garden.
Yes.
So this is a technique that's being adopted. We have about 200 acres that have been adopted by growers throughout Ohio, and continues to be an opportunity for our growers to make high value returns on small fields that they may have on their farms here throughout Ohio.
Brad, I want to thank you for demonstrating a little bit what plasticulture is. In our next topical area, we're going to dwell further into some of the other research programs that you've been doing. I know that you have been very active in utilizing resources that all of us take for granted. And so on behalf of Dwayne and Jerry, I thank you for showing us some neat and interesting things.
Thank you, Patrick.